Hello students, we are here in this video with the topic levels of regional integration, and in the previous video I told you that what is a regional integration, and then thereafter I gave you certain examples of regional integration, and we are here going to discuss about the cooperation levels among various nations, because when the countries decide of cooperation with each other, then there is demarcation that okay, this is the extent to which one has to cooperate among them, right? So basically here we have to understand that when we are talking of integration, is it the integration that at all levels the integration is of same kind, or is there any fine line between these integrations, or there are various levels on which the integration takes place? So that is all we have to understand in today's lecture. Now, let me tell you that when economies, they try to cooperate with each other, or they decide to cooperate with each other, so they decide on various parameters. Like suppose if I say that two countries are there and they decide that okay, they are going to bring down all the tariff and non-tariff barriers, that is all the duties or any administrative hassle or any other thing among themselves only in trade of commodities. Now, only in trade of commodity means that you are putting a restriction and you are not going to do away with the, tariff barriers or non-tariff barriers on the services, on the foreign capital, on the technology transfers, on the human resource movement. Because when we talk about international trade, it means that so many things are being exchanged. Either it is human resource, human capital that is going in and out, or it is foreign capital that is going in and out. Definitely commodities are there, which is known as export and import. Services are there. So the collaboration level is at what level, that we need to understand, because all the countries do not cooperate on all the aspects. There are various aspects, so many aspects on which the countries can come together, but they have drawn a fine line for them that okay, beyond this we need not to go. So therefore you I before I start explaining you each and every segment of regional economic cooperation, let me tell you that there are two extreme cases. Okay, one is the lowest or the basic model is known as a free trade area model, and the most advanced stage of regional integration is known as economic and monetary union. Sometimes it is called a monetary union when you follow a single currency like the European Union does. Otherwise you call it economic and sometimes monetary union as well. Now we have to understand the difference between these all stages of economic integration. Okay. Now I told you that there are so many exchanges that can take place. The exchange can be on commodity, the exchange can be on technology, the exchange can be on foreign capital, it can be on services, it can be on human resource as well. Now, up to what extent is one country giving market access to the other country, that we need to understand, right? So it is not, suppose if we talk about the case of US and India. Now all of you know that the IT professionals in India, they have to carry H1B visa for working as IT professionals in the United States of America. Now there is one condition that is put on the human resource which is going from India in search of lucrative jobs to the United States of America. So there's one condition. That means the movement of labor is not free between these two countries, right? There is some restriction that the government of US has put on the Indian passport holders, that if they wish to go and work over there, there is certain restrictions, certain terms, certain conditions that they have to fulfill. Now there is one more case. Suppose we take European Union, and European Union is a organization which has 28 independent states come up as an organization. Now if you carry a Schengen visa, you can travel freely from Belgium to France, right, to Germany to Austria. So it means that if you're holding a European passport and you're carrying a Schengen visa, even if you're an Indian, you're going to travel over there, you are free to travel in any of the countries, because they have formed the organization and they have agreed to it that whosoever is carrying a Schengen visa can move freely among various territories of various countries. Now you can see there are two examples. One comes with a condition and one comes with no condition, right? So therefore we need to understand that when countries are coming together to collaborate, right, to work with each other, so what are the restrictions they are putting in, or what are the aspects where they are giving free hand to the other countries, or if not free hand, then at least negligible barriers are there. Either it is a trade barrier or it is a non-trade barrier. Now, first of all, the basic thing that we are going to start with is a free trade area. And let me tell you that one example I would quote over here, which is a very famous example of free trade area, and that is NAFTA. It is also mentioned here in the slide, that is North American Free Trade Area. Along with this free trade area, we have EFTA, that is European Free Trade Area. We have ASEAN, that is Association of Southeast Asian Nations, right? So, and also we have Australia and New Zealand Closer Economic Relations Agreement, which is known as CER. So, all these are example of free trade area. Now, what happens in a free trade area? What the members agree? They agree that on the commodities, please mind my words, that on the commodities only, no services, no human resource, no technology, right? And nothing we are talking about over here except the commodities. So on the commodities, they are going to bring down the tariff barriers, that is the tax rates, and also the non-tariff barriers. Okay. So when they are going to bring it down on the commodities, so that means the commodities can move freely with a very low level of tax rate or no tax rate or a negligible tax rate from one country to the other country. And this is the case of free trade area. So they have an agreement only on one aspect, and that aspect is the commodity, the free trade in the commodities only. Okay. Now, from here, when we move a step further, right, so that means one more inclusion will be there in terms of custom union. So when you compare custom union and a free trade area, we find that custom union is a better version of economic integration, or you can say that comparatively a more advanced version of economic integration, because we take a step further here. Now, when we talk about custom union, in a custom union, what happens that in a custom union, whatever countries are the member, okay, like we have Andean community, that is an example of custom union only. Then before the European Union was formed, there was European Free Trade Area, which has the specifications of custom union also. So in a custom union, what we do is we have a common external tariff. Common external tariff means that among member nations, they have no tariff, because they are dealing with, so whatever specification was given for a free trade area, that already automatically gets included in the custom union. It is a step further, means that whatever speciality we have in the free trade area, whatever specification we have in the free trade area, that gets automatically carried forward in the custom union. So that means that there is less restriction or negligible restrictions in terms of tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers on the commodity. And one additional thing is added here, that for the non-members, means those who are not the members of the custom union, okay, on those countries, they are going to impose a external tariff, common external tariff. It means that whatever is being exported or imported in these countries and from these countries, they will be charging a common external tariff. Now, suppose if 4 countries are part of a custom union, for example, now all these 4 countries are going to practice a common tariff rate, which they will be imposing on a non-member. Suppose if India is a non-member, so they are going to, all the 4 countries ABCD are going to impose a common tariff rate on India or on Pakistan or Bangladesh or Bhutan or even US, which is not a part of the custom union, of course, right? So this is how they operate. So free trade area, we have one thing, that on the commodities, export and import, negligible duties or no duties, and less tariff barriers or negligible non-tariff barriers. In the custom union, whatever specification we have in the free trade area, that, and plus they have a common external tariff for the non-members. So a step ahead. Now, Thirdly, we are moving to common market. Okay, and common market is comparatively again an advanced stage when you compare it with custom union. So basic was free trade, a step further is custom union, and two step further from free trade area is a common market. Now what happens in a common market? That in a common market we allow not only the movement of commodities freely or with a negligible restriction, not only we practice or the countries practice a common external tariff, but we also give free hand to services and to human resource, right? Initially we were only talking of the commodities, then we talked about the services, now we are talking about the foreign capital movement, and we are also talking about the human resource movement, which takes freely, or which is allowed freely over here in the common market. Now one example I would like to quote here is Mercosur, and this Mercosur is a Spanish word which means southern common market, and this southern common market basically lies in the southern American continent, which comprises of four nations of southern American community, right? So we find that Brazil is there, we find that Argentina is there, Uruguay is there, Paraguay is there. So these are the countries which form the Mercosur or the southern common market. And how do they function? They function that whatever commodities export or import among them, okay, there is negligible tariff rate, or there is very less administrative hassle, or very less or negligible non-tariff barrier among them. With the non-members, they follow a common external trade policy. Suppose if they are doing trade with the United States of America, these southern American countries, now they are going to impose, suppose if USA is dealing with Brazil, or is dealing with Argentina, or is dealing with Paraguay, Uruguay, right? So they are going to have a common external tariffs on the exports and import with USA or any other non-member nation, right? Also among the member nations, that means Uruguay, Paraguay, etc., they are going to allow the free flow of capital. Okay, free flow of capital, here we are talking about foreign direct investments. So free flow of capital means the foreign direct investment without any restrictions take place among the member nations, and along with commodities and services, the free flow of human resource also takes place here. So you can understand that in a common market, we have one more added specification, and that is related to free movement of human resource and free movement or movement with negligible restrictions of foreign capital, right? So if again we recap from free trade area, we see that custom union is a step ahead with not only the movement of free movement of commodities along with the common external tariff, and again we see a step further in the common market, where along with movement of commodities freely to the common external tariff to the movement of services, human resource and foreign capital. And now we come to the most advanced stage of economic integration practically, which we see, that is the European Union. Not only they include all these specifications given in the free trade area, custom union, common market, but they follow a single currency. Now let me just tell you here that all the member nations of European Union don't follow a single currency, right? So few of them follow, and that is known as Eurozone. But definitely when it comes to human resource movement, when it comes to foreign capital, when it comes to other things, that is commodities and services, they have free access to each other's market. And that basically creates a lot of opportunities for the member nation, because they all are of similar culture, and they save on the transportation cost, then tariff and non-tariff barriers are not there. So definitely the volume of trade will be increased if these barriers are not there. So that is a one added advantage of the European Union, though it poses some challenges also, because let me just tell you here that adopting a single currency by the member nation, giving up their own erstwhile currencies, was not an easy job, because they had to bring uniformity in their fiscal and monetary policy. of course, when you as a member nation you are going to adopt a single currency. So according to the, requisites, you are going to fulfill all the terms, all the conditions. You are going to make specific changes in your fiscal policy, in your monetary policy, and then only you can be allowed to adopt a single currency, which is known as euro. And also, I would like to quote here the example of Greece, which was bailed out by France and Germany and all the rich nations of the European Union. So that is the beauty of cooperation, that when you are in trouble, you are bailed out, though it has its own challenges and other consequences also attached. But nothing, no organization is actually without challenges. So we see that whatever forms of the regional economic integration we study, whatever stages, whatever level of integration we study, all in all, we understand that the integration or the cooperation is there definitely among the nation countries, among the member countries, but definitely they are all not on the same, you know, same line. Few you will see less restriction, and in few cases you will see more restriction. Okay, so to mug up, you can say that free trade area is the most basic model of economic integration. Then European Union or economic and monetary union is the most advanced stage of economic integration. One more potential level of regional integration is much talked about, that is political union. But you can understand that when every independent state is not going to be in I mean, they are not going to just take this political union because they have to give up their sovereignty. So many things are going to be common, and you don't have your individual say actually. So therefore, political union is still a myth, though talked about a lot. And let us see in future what is going to happen. But yes, of course, in the current times, you see whatever pandemic and everything is going on. So no world economy lives in isolation. Everybody is there to support each other, to cooperate with each other. And definitely we have, with this cooperation going on nowadays, we understand that in future also this regional economic cooperation is going to have its strong presence. And as the day passes by, we are getting globalized, we are getting integrated also. So you see two things happening at the same time. We are globalized also, but we are also giving importance to regional integration because of the environmental factors that we share in common. And I hope that this video lecture of mine has cleared your concept of on the levels of regional integration. Hope to see you in another video with another topic. Thank you very much.